Space Jam is just one of those special movies that comes around every once in a while and really knocks you off your feet and really puts an impression on someone and just is memorable. You cannot forget something like Space Jam. I mean, who could forget Bugs Bunny and Michael Jordan coming together? I mean, of all things. And then there's Bill Murray and so many other... there's so many amazing things about Space Jam that made it one of my all-time favorite movies. And being from Chicagoland and growing up in the mid-1990s, Michael Jordan is just such a huge part of my early childhood, and being a huge Looney Tunes fan, it was a done deal when this movie came out. I was going to love it, and I absolutely did. It did not disappoint in any way, shape, or fashion. I mean, from the way it looked, the way it sounded, the soundtrack. I had the soundtrack as a kid on CD. It's amazing. You got Jay-Z, a lot of other artists. There's even Chris Rock is on there with Barry White singing Basketball Jones, which is hilarious. Oh my god, it's just so well done. So as you can imagine, I've been wanting a sequel to this for quite some time. Even though I'm not the biggest LeBron James fan, he is the perfect person for this movie. And we've been clamoring for it for years and years and years, and we finally got a confirmation that it's in production and blah blah blah. They got a script written, it's going to be happening, and it's got a release date of 2021 in July, and that's awesome. But today I wanted to take a look at a few things, kind of discuss a few things that I think need to be in Space Jam 2 for it to be successful. This can be a flop if not done right. I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll do their due diligence on this, treat this movie with respect, and do it the way it needs to be done. But these are the things that I think need to be in this movie for it to be as memorable as the original. First off the bat, Michael Jordan has to be in this movie. I don't care how they have to do it, what they have to pay him. He has to be in it. Now, whether or not Michael Jordan wants to do it, I don't know. I assume he's not doing too much else. I mean, he's the owner of an NBA team, but they have a large offseason. He'd probably give him enough money. He'd probably do it. It just needs to be in this in some way, shape, or fashion. It just needs to be in there. I'd also like to see Charles Barkley in this. He was in the original as well. Huge Charles Barkley fan. I think he's hilarious. He does a lot of NBA anchoring on TNT and stuff like that. So he's still pretty popular in that community. So I'd love to see him in there. Of course, the current NBA All-Star rosters should be included in this. I mean, in the original, they had, like I said, Charles Barkley, Muggsy Bogues was in it, Michael Jordan, obviously, and like a handful of other ones. I can't remember their names. But this one needs to have a star-studded roster as well. I mean, we're talking like Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I always pronounce that wrong, sorry. And like, you know, others out there. Probably not any Chicago Bulls at the moment because they're pretty garbage, unfortunately. But, you know, Jimmy Butler could be a good option. He plays for the Wolves. It doesn't matter. They just need to have a lot of all-star faces in this, people that are big names in this. I think Steph Curry is probably the number one want in this, as he's got a very funny personality. He lends himself well to the camera. He's good in interviews and things like that, and he's probably second most behind LeBron James in terms of popularity in the NBA. So they need to get him on board to do a cameo, at least a cameo in this. It shouldn't be too hard of a filming schedule for him. Also, being in Golden State, being in California, not too far from Los Angeles, it shouldn't be hard to get him into LA to do this kind of a shoot on set. So I would expect to see him and maybe some other Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, something like that in this movie, which is great. I mean, they need to have a star-studded roster, and those are perfect fits. Again, as I touched on earlier, another thing that I really, really enjoyed about the first Space Jam is the soundtrack. It is just loaded with bangers. I mean, I Believe I Can Fly by R. Kelly. Granted, he's a child rapist and he's been convicted now, but back then I didn't know that. So obviously R. Kelly can't be on this one, but there needs to be something along the lines. I Believe I Can Fly, it was just one of those songs that it was just wonderful. But also on there, like I said, you had Basketball Jones by Barry White and Chris Rock. You also had other songs on there that were written specifically for this. I remember the Hit 'Em High with Busta Rhymes and Coolio, LL Cool J, and Method Man. That song was amazing on there. There's also the Space Jam intro song, which is great. You know, everybody get up, it's time to jam now. That song was in my head as a 5-year-old forever. Like I said, I had the CD for this specifically for that song because I played it over and over and over as I was shooting hoops in like the park and stuff like that. I just had to have that on my little Walkman on CD. I had to have that. So this has got to feature some pretty prominent artists in the hip hop world. Jay-Z comes to mind as he was on a couple of the songs on the original. I don't know, maybe a Post Malone, something like that. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not the biggest hip hop fan, but I just know that this soundtrack has to hit home, and it's got to be, you know, full of big name artists, original songs written for this. And wouldn't mind seeing another Chris Rock Basketball Jones knockoff song or a repeat song, something like that. I thought that was hilarious. I wouldn't mind seeing that. But yeah, the soundtrack has to be off the charts. Next up, another cameo or another return character that I feel like has to be in this is, of course, Bill Murray. Bill Murray is hilarious in the original Space Jam. He comes out of nowhere, and you just kind of like, Bill Murray's in this, playing himself? Like, that's hilarious, and I love when he's done it. He's done it in a couple movies. He did it in Zombieland. He played himself as well. Another time he was hilarious. But if they could get Bill Murray to do a small cameo in this, I would be smitten with that. I think that would be hilarious if he was like in the stands or something like that. He just kind of had like a one or two lines, maybe not an important character, but one that's kind of like a throwaway joke and a wink and a nod to the fans of the original movie. I think would go a long, long way. Of course, the animation and the style of this movie has to be a more modern animation style. I feel like they can get this done. I would really prefer it to look something along the lines of the original with a blended CGI with obviously the really real-life actors. Something Disney's been doing a lot of with their movies, but I don't want a photorealistic look to it. Obviously, these are still cartoon characters, but I feel like they'll pick out an animation style that I'll like. I'm pretty confident in their abilities to do that. I would also like to see additional characters, additional Looney Tunes characters that were not in the previous movie or have been since added to the roster. That would be pretty cool to see, some new faces around there. Also pretty interested to see what they do with Lola and her look, if they're going to keep that sexy chic kind of look, or if they kind of tone that down. I don't think they will, because that's pretty much, you know, sex sells, and who doesn't love the way Lola Bunny looks? It's absolutely amazing in that original movie. And another thing that I would love to see, is if they bring back the original villain. His name was Swackhammer. I would love to see him come back in some fashion, and if he does, then they would need to get Danny DeVito to be the voice of him, because Danny DeVito did the original voice acting in that movie, and I love Danny DeVito. I freaking love his voice acting. I love him in It's Always Sunny and other roles. He's an absolutely hilarious person, and his voice is so perfect for that little short, stubby villain. I mean, that's what he looks like in real life. So I would love to see his character return. I would love to see Danny DeVito in this movie in any way possible. And finally here, few things I needed to touch on before we get out of here is if you remember back to the original, around that time there was loads of toys, collectibles, video games, you know, things like that. That all needs to come back. I want more. You know, I want pop vinyls. I want minifigures. I want all things Space Jam to come back. I want collectibles. I want toys, and of course, I loved the video games. So I need a new Space Jam video game. Space Jam 2, the video game, would be insane. There actually was a couple of Space Jam games on the PS1. I remember having that one. Of course, it's like a little cheap basketball game featuring Looney Tunes characters. So something like that, more modernized, maybe a little more like in terms of NBA Jam, but featuring LeBron James and Bugs Bunny. I think it could do well. I would be very interested in something like that. Would love to see it. And finally, of course, they need to have a new Toon Squad jersey, an updated jersey, maybe black, something like that, or maybe they could stay with the original, but either way, they need to release those in stores. I want a LeBron James Toon Squad jersey. I have a Toon Squad jersey currently. It's Bill Murray. I ordered it from China on some weird Chinese site for Halloween a couple years ago, and it's still funny to bust out from time to time to have a Bill Murray Toon Squad jersey. It's pretty funny. But I would love to have an official, nice one with LeBron James on it, and be a Toon Squad jersey. Would be absolutely amazing. Maybe you can get, you know, Bugs Bunny and all those other characters as well on them. Those are pretty cool. But those are just a few of the things that I think need to happen in Space Jam 2. A few of the things that popped in my mind after thinking about rewatching the first one and what I want to see in a second one. But anyway, that's all I have time for today, guys. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Let me know what you guys are looking for in this movie. What do you guys want to see? Do you guys agree with me? Do you guys disagree with me? All that stuff down in the comment section would be greatly appreciated. As always, make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe for more videos like this in your sub boxes daily. But until next time, guys, remember that it's always K-Mac time somewhere. Until then, take it easy and peace out.